doing, Dante?
Hello. How you doing, Clint?
Well, as you can see, everyone, it's just me and Dante for the moment, but we have an expert on call, and if we ever need a third-party opinion.
That is
So let's
right.
start it. Let's get into the wonderful chaos in the sky that's been occurring. As many of you know, a lot of air traffic problems have developed in the last month and the beginning of February. And a lot of insinuations were made that this is due to diversity or DEI, diversity and inclusion, programs of that manner. Now, this was just an insinuation at first until we started looking into the DEI and the new mandates that were being presented to people in the aviation field. And what I'm about to say is going to seem like an attack on the disabled and the handicapped, but please take in mind the American Disability Act has limitations, and those limitations are reasonable accommodations. And when it comes to reviewing applicants, let's say for a control tower, it would be best that you not interview applicants that have a emotional or mental disability or handicap. I'm sorry, but that's not a reasonable accommodation. I'm sure everyone can agree with me that you don't want someone in the tower who doesn't know how to direct them, but that can't tell the difference between the planes and the imaginary hallucinations that are in front of them. Dante, your viewpoint?
Well, an investigation hasn't been completed yet, right?
True, we're still investigating, but the
We're
fact
still
they made it a mandate to give priority to the disabled and the handicapped with psychological issues.
I'll say this. I as somebody who did vote for President Trump, I think it's irresponsible to come out and get on to stand in the White House press briefing and say that this is because of DEI. There's no evidence to support that. I think there are other issues that you can talk about where there are problems with DEI, and I think those should be your talking points and focus on real examples. But just throwing that out there in the air, I think Trump is playing into what a lot of people already say that Republicans do. And unfortunately, it does sound like you just say DEI as you don't want Black, gay, women, somebody disabled to do a certain type of job. Let's stop trying to go down that route. There's no evidence. I mean, we still don't know what happened. 67 people lost their lives. I mean, so jumping to conclusions, I think that's irresponsible.
I'm not saying that's at fault, but the fact that we opened up the new criteria and discovered that could be a problem later on. I'm all for people with a disability and a handicap and who are handicapped having a chance at the table and being reviewed for employment if the accommodations are reasonable. And I'm sorry, but in a control tower, you can interview a person who's handicapped or disabled, but I don't think it's wise to interview a emotionally or mentally disabled or handicapped person for that specific job position, and that's not a reasonable accommodation, and it's harmful for all parties. Period.
I do. I don't think you should hire somebody just based off of a characteristic or disability or a skin color. I think you should hire the best people to do a job. I'm probably about to sound like a Democrat, but it sounds like some police officers are being hired because of DEI, because some of them should not be police officers.
Well, yeah, but
they're not mentally stable.
There are a lot of problems with law enforcement, and we don't make the psychological evaluation a priority in any of the police academies, which we should, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But just to talk about the airplane crash, I mean, there could be so many different reasons of why it happened. It could have been a mechanical reason. It could have been the person who's the air controller is working a double shift and overworked. We don't know what it could have been. So just coming out there just saying it's DEI, that, I mean, you're not helping this situation.
we opened up the DEI mandates and we had a look at them firsthand in the general public. Uh, when we heard about these in the past, we didn't really know the scope. But when they released the documentation, now we do. As for the flight problems that have been occurring, all those are still under investigation, and I don't think they'll have any real conclusions, at least for another month. But it takes a long time to do those investigations.
Yeah, it do take a while for the investigation, but since Trump is in power right now, his administration, we have to hold them accountable to complete this investigation honestly and accurately, so we can make a determination to have safe aviation, and not just try to you get the conclusion of your investigation and you try to get back to your original argument. It's because of DEI. So whatever the conclusion come out to be, I think that's what we should present to the American people. Let's figure out how we can have better flights, because I'm pretty sure some people are a little bit terrified right now to get on an airplane.
True. Now let's address the upcoming trade wars that we're about to have. And everyone knows, the Trump administration implemented today for Mexico and Canada, and for all I know, I might be leaving out some other countries, a 25% and a 25% tariff.
That's right, on Canada and Mexico.
25%. I think this is a tactic to get a better deal on imports and exports from Canada and Mexico. However, this could blow up in the Trump administration's face, and if it does, we'll actually get worse deals than we had before. Basically, we're playing Russian roulette right now. So I don't know how it's going to turn out.
I don't know how it's going to turn out either. I do agree with you. I think it's a negotiation tactic. Trump has been talking, even before Trump got into politics or ran for office, he's been talking about tariffs for a very long time. Yeah. As a private citizen. So this is not new. It's also not new that the United States do this. I hope, as Clint said, that Trump is thinking about this in the long term, because any wrong move can blow up and tank the economy, and it's not going to look favorable for him. So I hope he has thought about all of this. And if Trump and his team are smart, they're going to go this route with tariff. I hope that they use all the resources that American has to boost those industries, so we can start our own independence off of that and not rely on Canada or Mexico for X, Y, and Z.
I think what we should do, which he's talked about, but I don't know if it's serious, we should work on bringing all those jobs back to America and manufacturing in case this blows up in our face. That way we can still have a reasonable pricing on products because they're being made in America. Now, yes, they're going to get higher if they're made in America, but we'll have more jobs available for people, so they'll be able to afford to buy the products. So I hope the Trump administration reinstitutes manufacturing in America in case the other countries give us the middle finger and it blows up in our face.
Yeah, and another reason that Trump is quote unquote doing this is because of illegal people crossing the borders from the north and the south. We'll see how all this plays out. No one knows, what they're going to do. Each world leader is trying to have the biggest penis in the room, to say, even though I know Mexicans leader is a female, so no disrespect to females, but everybody's trying to see who has the biggest ego. And we'll see who would win in the end. Hopefully it's America, because that means everybody in America would benefit. But like Clint said, this is Russian roulette right now.
Well, I hate to break your heart about your candidate Trump, but I really think he's in this for the money. I don't think he cares about the fentanyl issue. I don't think he cares about the immigration issue. He's trying to make more money and get better trade deals, because Trump, in a certain way, he is racist. He loves green. That's all he loves. Green.
Yeah, that's all he cares about.
He really doesn't care who and what you are. If you can't bring him money, you're out the door. Sorry. He's green to the core.
Yeah. Um, I'll say if you are looking to start a business right now, this is probably the best time to do it. Hopefully, if this trade war isn't going to the south.
Yeah, now would be the perfect time to open up your manufacturing again. If you want to do it. But,
Right.
if everything goes to the crapper, we won't be getting good imports anymore. So
But I thought Canada's leader was leaving.
You thought was what?
I thought Canada's leader was getting out of office.
I thought so too, and now he wants to play, hoot and bluff the other with Trump. I'm like, I thought you were leaving. I mean,
I did. Like, bro, why are you even talking?
But I guess he wants to go out with a bang. Look, I stood up to Trump. Whatever.
I mean, if that's going to make people feel good about their inner self, that they stood up to Trump and the Orange Man, okay, but you're still leaving office.
Yeah,
and your own people wanted you out of office.
Yeah, that's why he's leaving. His own people are turning against him. So, as for Mexico, I know why they're doing what they're doing. Simply because they have a really great deal where they were getting the best advantage over us, and they're about to lose that. So they're trying to counterbluff Trump and hoping that he'll fold. I don't know. You think he'll fold?
I do not think he would fold with Mexico. I think he would keep a lot of pressure on with Mexico. I think with Canada, I don't think he would fold. I think people in his office and the administration would talk some sense into him to act a little bit differently. But with Mexico, I do think Trump is going to give them the hammer.
Yeah.
Because he has been tacking, what's going on at the southern border for almost his entire run for presidency. So he has to come out on top on that argument.
Now, the next thing I want to discuss is to assure people that I've been looking into it. Your Medicaid, your Medicare, your supplemental security income, your Social Security benefits will not be cut off. Here are the things that probably will be cut off. A bunch of federal loans for research and development. And before you panic, some of these R&D programs are insane. So in order to take a look at them and stop all funding to them. Now the Supreme Court blocked that, so it's a war at the moment whether the funds will actually cease. But your Medicare, your Medicaid, your Social Security, your SSI, and your EBT food stamps are not in danger. All those people who are basically have a 501c and receiving federal funding, good luck. You might get cut off.
I'm sorry.
I tell you, if the Supreme Court block doesn't work, oh well, say bye-bye to your 501c.
I mean, honestly, I don't see what's the problem with going through line items to see what we're spending our money on, what we can cut back on, what's wasteful spending. I mean, as you just said, those programs you listed out are not going to be affected. Right. However, instead of people actually taking the time and common sense in their brain to go read Trump's executive order and not add in additional language and just read what's on there, a lot of their questions would have already been answered. I mean, even the memo that the White House put out when they were going to do the freeze, it told you exactly paragraph 2 listed out examples of what they were going to be cutting. And people still jumped on this other theory, and the news media just kind of went and ran with it.
That's because the news media and many politicians know that the ordinary person, after they come from work, they don't have time to look at every executive order. And so they're dependent either on legacy media, the internet, or the paper, if we still have a paper, to get their news. And because the media knows this, they take advantage of it. I just want to assure everybody who may not know your Medicare, your Medicaid, your SSI, your Social Security, your EBT food stamps are not going to be cut off. You know, everything else though is up for review, but it has not been cut off because the Supreme Court blocked it. So right now, in the tug of war on even if the other federal funding will be cut off. So.
Yeah, and everyone, you can literally go to the White House website. I think it's under the section of presidential actions, and it's 8 pages of all of his executive orders. You don't have to read them all in one day. You can just pick them, pick which ones you want to read and just read the executive orders yourself. I would not try to get your sources from Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, Newsmax, a social media influencer. Take your own time and go and read the stuff. And then you can listen to the commentators and the White House press secretary to form your own conclusion. But I would start with reading it yourself so you can see what's actually in the language. Because again, if they would have read the White House memo when they were talking about freezing, it gave you clear examples of what they were going to be doing.
And what people don't understand is the biggest form of lying is through omission. They don't necessarily tell you a falsehood. They leave things out. And they do that on purpose because they know that the average mind will wander to the worst conclusion. So lying through omission is how you're misdirected. Another thing I wanted to get to is about the federal employees. They're not firing all the federal employees. What they did is gave federal workers who are still working remotely the option of returning to work to an office or to take a buyout where they would, get so much of a severance package to leave. They found that it was less expensive to buy people out than it would be to reach a settlement upon termination. So don't worry, not every federal employee has been fired. They've been given an option to return to work physically or to accept a severance package that's more than generous.
The way how I feel about it, some people probably will go off on me in the comments. This is your job. If your job told you have to come back to the office, you have 2 choices: either go back to the office or find another job. I know people enjoyed their freedom that they had for the past 4 years of not going to the office, but people really need to sit back and think, why are we giving our government so much money to keep these buildings open if nobody's really going there?
I agree. And
not only keeping the buildings open, we're paying utilities. We're putting a lot of money into a building where it's half empty. You have to go to work, period. You sat at home for so many years. Yeah. You enjoyed that luxury is now over. COVID is not, we've all gotten past COVID. So we're going to go back to pre-COVID where everybody was coming to the office. And some people are good at working at home and they're efficient at working at home. And some people are not. And those bad apples, really, that's what a lot of employers do focus on.
And if we're going to allow people to work remotely from home, it should be a subcontract. So we can start utilizing the government buildings for other things rather than letting them go to waste. So if we don't really fill those buildings anymore, that gives us the ability to lease them out for other things. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how many come back to work and how many accept the severance pay.
Yeah. If you don't want to come back to work, accept the package and look for another job. I'm not sure why people are so upset about this. They have control at the end of the day. Either you want to work with the federal government, come back to the office. If you don't, then you can find another job somewhere else, respectfully.
I think this will cut back on a lot of wasteful spending. I think a lot of the employees were getting too high of a salary to begin with. Number one. Number two, I think the few bad apples were collecting a salary simply to, do nothing at home. And this is not your money. This is the American taxpayers' money. And it's your money if you perform your duties and your tasks on the job. If you work in the private sector with such, how can I say, incompetence, you would have been terminated a long time ago. They don't care.
They don't.
You're fortunate to have a government job. A lot of people wish they could have a government job and have the level of security the private industry does not deliver.
Yeah, I mean, if you follow Trump this last election cycle, a lot of stuff that Trump started doing on January 20th till now, these are things that he said on the campaign trail. And I say that to say anyone who voted for him knew this is what he was going to do, which is why they voted for him. And anyone who didn't vote for him knew that he was going to do this. That's why they voted for Vice President Harris. And anyone who didn't vote at all, you really have no say-so in this conversation because you didn't participate. And the people who voted for Trump, we won, and we were kind of expecting all of this stuff. So this stuff is really not new. And anybody that's getting outraged about it's kind of like you're going to do a lot of crying and you're going to go into a state of depression if you're going to be like this for the next 4 years. Because get ready, there's a lot of stuff coming. And if you don't pay attention to Trump, this is one man who's going to do what he says. And if there is any roadblocks, he's going to try to figure out how he can get to it.
Yeah. As far as the military, he already talked about he was going to overhaul the military. I don't know why people are shocked. That's all he's saying on the campaign trail. Now, you may not agree with the changes he's making in the military, which is fine, but it's not a surprise. You know, I think it might be a surprise to people of how fast he's doing it.
So the one thing I know my conservative and Republican friends that are probably watching will have an issue with this. I do not like the fact that Trump is saying that trans people can't serve the military. I understand why they are saying that, but I am somebody who believes if anybody wants to give their life for our country, for our freedoms, and they are physically able to do that, they are medically cleared to do it, and they are competent to do the job, I don't think how they live their life privately should affect them joining the Army. Now, if any of the three components that I just named, if those are hindrance to them to execute their job effectively, that's a different story. I did serve in the Army National Guard, and we were trained not to really think about race. We look at each other as brothers because when we're in the battlefield, our enemy don't look at us as black, white, Democrat, independent, Republican. They look at all of us as Americans. So I can understand why the Department of Defense has decided to get rid of or not celebrate some of the holidays when they put out that memorandum. I guess they only want to celebrate July 4th, which is fine. Every military personnel are still able to celebrate those months or events privately on their own. They can participate in other organizations, but when it comes to the United States government, no, that's not going to be served. No, we're both not Republicans. I am the Republican. Clint is the Libertarian.
Sorry to disappoint you.
Yeah. Well, I guess you probably knew that about me.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm not a Republican. He's out for today. He had some side gig to take care of, but he should be in the next episode. So we'll have to compensate for him if you stay tuned.
Would I be, Mr. Thompson, should you be working in the Trump White House? Actually, I love my state of Georgia, and I think Georgia issues are more important. I would not go to Washington, D.C., no.
I think it might be too cold for you.
Definitely would be. I don't like the cold, no. I didn't even like when it snowed up here in Atlanta, so no.
Yeah, I watched everybody in the Savannah lose their mind when it snowed here.
Speaking of Georgia, so Governor Kemp and his tort reform bill.
Yeah. No comment.
You know, I don't know what they were thinking when they wrote this bill. It's a terrible bill.
I don't think they were thinking at all.
It's very favorable to business owners. and insurance companies. It's not helping plaintiffs or people who have actually been injured by the negligence of somebody else. And their reason for doing this is because the insurance rates have gone up. The insurance companies aren't even paying people what they deserve to be paid when they are injured by somebody else. They're giving people pennies. So you're not even paying them the full price, still jacking up their insurance rate, and they made record profits in 2023 and 2024. So I hope everybody in the state of Georgia, please call your local representative. This is a bad bill, and it needs to be. They do not need to vote for it. That's all.
You need to remind him that his job is to represent his constituents and not the insurance companies and not the business. I mean, yes, you have to take care of business, but not the cost of your constituents that voted you in office. And you're correct. The payouts are nowhere near what they should be for the premiums that people are paying. And they're going to keep on elevating. I have like a 27-year-old automobile that was increased in liability by almost $52 a month. And there's no reason. I didn't have any accidents, no tickets. The car is old as you can fake, and they couldn't really explain it. Oh, well, it's the economy. Yeah, but $52? Really?
And that adds up.
Yeah, and they're going to do this on homeowners, you name it. Flood insurance, fire insurance. And now that we recently got over the snow brigade, they'll probably hike up, reason for that too.
Yeah, and I'm sure the property damage from the hurricanes as well. There's another reason why they'll hike it up too. Republicans do have control, at least in Georgia. They have control of the governor's mansion, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. So it is possible the bill will pass. So that's why I encourage everyone to please contact your local representative. Do what you can to get them to vote against this bill or amend it in some type of way, because this is a bad bill and it's not beneficial. It really takes away from people's the Seventh Amendment, their constitutional right, trial by jury.
I think it needs to be abolished altogether. I don't think there's any way to reform a turd. I mean, that's impossible. I mean, you can put, aerosol cans on it and air freshener all you like. It's still a turd. Okay, I think you agree with Trump's foolish executive orders.
Okay. Well, he has a lot of them. Some of them I agree with, some of them that I don't. Yes, actually, I would.
It depends. Some I would, and some I wouldn't. I do like the immigration. What he's doing. I think people that are here illegally who've murdered or who've harmed others should be escorted out of the country as quickly as possible. As for the families, I have a disagreement with that. But fortunately, he hasn't gotten to the families yet, but he will, and that's when problems will arise.
I'm sympathetic to that. However, they did break a federal law.
Not denying that.
They did break a federal law. I have personally come to the conclusion, for the families, maybe they can get a fine and we can work with them on becoming U.S. citizens and not remove them from the country. I'm more so focused on criminals and violent people in the communities, more so people who have been here and living the American dream and trying to, live right. I think what we can do for them is just, they get a fine, and work with them to become U.S. citizens. I think they should be put in a separate category.
Yeah,
but they still broke the law, people. I'm so sorry. They broke the law.
I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
Criminals, okay, I'm all behind that. The only issues I have is when it comes to the families. Unfortunately, they're still rounding up the hardcore criminals, so they haven't gotten to the families yet. But we do need to find a solution to that when they do, because he's getting a lot of the murderers out really fast.
Really fast. I mean, even in Atlanta on the local news, they are showing ICE arresting people almost every day. And I mean, they're moving aggressively.
Well, it's kind of easy when they have a criminal record and you know where they are and you got a file in your hand and you know exactly what address to go to. So,
And I have to say this: the fact that Trump is doing this and the last president wasn't acting on this, I mean, that's playing right into everything that Trump was saying about the Biden administration's incompetence when it came to immigration.
Now, wait a minute. I have to defend Biden. He has dementia. So, you know, he didn't even know what planet he was on. So give the man a break, you know.
Nah, I can't give him a break. No, I would have gave him a break if he honestly would have stepped down in 2022 and already gave him Vice President Harris a clear opportunity to run. I still would not have voted for her, but I do think it's not humanly possible for her to turn around his shit show up campaign that he messed up on and want her to do an awesome job. That was impossible for her to do.
Well, what they should have done is they should have pretty much have a real Democrat convention from the Democrat Party, found a much better candidate than Harris. And for all we know, they could have won. But
no, they couldn't have done that, because if they did that, they would have upset their black constituents, because the black people are like, well, hold on, y'all just skipped over this woman and picked a white man. So the Democratic Party had to play into their race. Yeah. Guess it'll work out.
We have no idea what candidate would have been selected if there was a real convention. It could have been someone that, we haven't even thought of.
That is true, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't think about Barack Obama in 2008. I honestly think Josh Shapiro would have came out on top.
We don't know. I mean, there were a lot of good Democrat candidates.
Or Westmore, Westmore. I think he's an underdog that a lot of people are overlooking.
Yeah, you're right. Westmore probably would have done really good. Oh, well, they didn't do that, so. They should have. I don't know why. But as for Biden, I wish I knew all the names of his handlers, because those were the people that were running the country, not him. So,
were they really running the country? I mean, I think just like all federal workers, they weren't going to work either.
Well, evidently we've been on autopilot for the last 4 years. I don't know. Let's get to local politics and the comment that Mr. Hall made about Dean Hicklider. In Mr. Hicklider's defense, I know he's a Republican. I don't think he's a racist. I just think he's an idiot. There's a big difference. And I don't think it's because of a lack of education or because he's a hair salon stylist, because Tammy Stone is a hair salon stylist, and she's a lot more intelligent than Dean Hicklider. I'm sorry, but I think he's just an idiot. I don't think he's a racist. I just think he's an idiot. He claimed that Pacific politicians were not qualified to hold their positions because they, he just implied that they were incompetent, but he couldn't point out any policies that they introduced in the past to prove that they were lacking in qualifications. He was just running his mouth. So I don't think it had anything to do with victory. I just think he was an idiot.
Yeah, it sounds pretty stupid to me.
And all they had to do to rebuttal him is, well, if we're not qualified, what policy that we passed did you disagree with? And watch the smoke come out of his ears. I mean, I don't know what to do.
Wait, is this going on in Savannah?
Yes.
So
the Chatham County.
Oh. And what's the Republican's name?
Dean Hicklider.
Okay.
Hicklider. He just made a bunch of, how can I say, out of this world comments about Pacific politicians were not qualified, and he couldn't back it up.
Were all the politicians black?
Yep.
Oh, Jesus.
But he couldn't even say why they were not qualified.
I don't know, Clint. That's now kind of sound like it's borderline racist.
It sounds like he's just an idiot to me.
I think two things can be true at the same time.
Okay, you got me there.
I'm going to do some. I apologize. I don't know too much about that, but I'm going to do some research on it. But based off what you're telling me, it sounds like it could be a little bit of both.
Yeah, but
especially if he can't point to any specific examples.
All pointing out the elaborate education of the politicians and pointing out the fact that Mr. Hitler was only a hair salon stylist. Tammy Stone was a hair salon stylist, and she's 10 times more intelligent than Dean Hitler. So don't blame it on hair salons. I'm sorry. There are plenty of people that work in a salon that are very intelligent, more intelligent than him.
Well, thank you, Bernard. I'm pretty sure next episode you're going to hate me again, but
oh man. Now, another thing I like to know is why is Raffensperger, and yes, I know I'm butchering the pronunciation of the name, why is he still in office? I mean, come on, I know he's Republican, but when are you guys going to get rid of him?
Listen, I don't know. I honestly, I have no comment on that. I mean, just at the state of the state a few days ago, I should say, or a few weeks ago, when our representative, what's his name, Moore, was acting a fool. How embarrassing! I mean, I don't know what to say about my local state party at the moment, but hopefully, we'll do better. I mean, we're the adults in charge because we have all the power, so we really can't blame anything on Democrats at this point. But it is what it is.
I will laugh if you blame on Democrats. All right. Like you said, you have majority of the power, but I just wish people like Raffensperger, I'm pronouncing his name incorrectly, would just get thrown out on their t-shirt. I can't stand them. Now, another topic.
You think he's going to run for governor?
I'm afraid he is.
I think so too. But I think Burt Jones will come out as the one who wins in the end.
I hope Humpty Dumpty beats him. I don't care. I just don't want Raffensperger now.
Listen, I've heard talks that MTG is thinking about running, and if I had to choose between her and Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, and if no one knew the abbreviation that I just was referencing, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I would pick Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones.
I think that might just be a rumor. You don't really think she'll run, do you?
I think she would. I think that she believes she can gain a lot of attraction outside the 14th district, but I don't think she has looked at the math to see that will not work, because what's working in the 14th won't work everywhere else. But
no, I know.
Well, that'd
be a good idea on her part. I think that'd be a bad move.
Yeah, I mean, if any audience that live in the 14th district, I don't know why y'all didn't go with the other Republican in the Republican primary, but that's who y'all chose. And I don't live in the 14th, so I have no say so on that.
Now, a bill was introduced by Massey, I believe, to abolish the Department of Education on the federal level. I'm all for that. I hope it passes, because they have done nothing but just horrible things in education. I believe in school choice. I do not believe in the federal Department of Education that was introduced in 1980. We should have abolished it a long time ago.
I'm right there with you. I think people really need to think about how beneficial has the Department of Education been for just education itself. I definitely agree with school choice. I mean, sending kids to failing schools and then hoping for a different outcome, it makes no sense.
And
I mean, it needs to be some competition. These schools need to really up their game so they can produce better quality students to be, great citizens.
Yeah, and we need to reintroduce critical thinking skills in K through 12, which the public school system fails at all the time. More importantly, I need to talk about something local. You may or may not know, they're getting ready to reintroduce the e-splosh. Now, they want more money, and they're going to sell it in the penny tax like they always do. It's more like a 33% increase on everything. And this is because they spent almost $400 million building schools in Chatham County. And now that the student body has decreased and less kids are going to public school in Chatham County, they do not have the revenue or the excuse to generate more taxes to maintain these buildings. Long story short, they don't have enough money to even clean them and supply them, etc., etc. So what they do? Increase taxes through an e-splash program.
All the local leaders in Savannah that has been elected, the fact that you added more schools was stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, we can just start from there. I think that was the dumbest thing ever.
What they should have done is, rather than reconstructing the buildings, they should have worked on the teachers, the textbooks, and the methods and way they instruct the students. That's what they should have done. And if anything, during the pandemic, guardians and parents had firsthand knowledge of what was actually happening in school and what was being taught to their children, and they did not like it. This is another reason we need school choice. Your tax revenue goes into a voucher system, and you have the selection of a public school, private school, or school at home, or online learning. And if it's a private school, that money pays for uniforms, tuition, and textbooks and supplies. Online classes. Homeschooling, supplies for homeschooling. Or you can pick the public school. This would force public schools to compete in the open market of learning. And they will either improve or we can finally do away with public school system altogether. But to keep on pouring more money after more money after more money with almost 60 to 70 years of failure when it comes to K through 12 making good scores on the ACT or the SAT, it's just foolish in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say about Savannah and those local leaders who decide to do that. Well, I would say that I'm happy that some of the high schools that I do remember, I was happy that Beach got, it got a new building. I was happy to see something with Jenkins, Johnson. I'm happy. Groves. I was kind of surprised by Groves High School, but all these other new places that they added, I thought that was stupid because the only thing they did was just take away from, I hate to say traditional, but the high schools that I remember when I was growing up in Savannah.
Not to mention the high schools look so elaborate. Wow, they blew a bunch of money. They look more like museums and high schools. I mean, I just can't believe it. But yeah, do not vote for e-splash. They're going to sit there and parade a bunch of kids in front of you and tell an emotional, heartfelt story. They've been doing this for almost 60 or 70 years. Take a look at the scores. Take a look at the illiteracy rate. Take a look at the teen suicide during the pandemic. Because even when they were allowed to finally get back to school, they were making kids wear a mask outside when they were all this far apart, when they were in no danger of catching anything. You need fresh air. I mean, I'm sorry, but that was just cruelty.
Listen, it was cruelty. I mean, still to this day, there are some people in Atlanta, Georgia, that will drive around in their own car by themselves with a mask on. I don't get it, but whatever.
Well, you might get contaminated by your own oxygen, coming out. I mean, you never know where you've been. I mean, how can you trust yourself? I mean,
I know, right?
When you're in the car, you got to be careful not to cough on yourself. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, don't vote for e-splash. You're going to pull every trick in the book. It's not 1 penny. It's a lot more than a penny tax. Do not let them fool you. And as far as teacher unions go, every time teacher unions get what they want, that extra money doesn't go into the teachers' pockets. It goes towards everywhere else, mostly administration. And when you have an administration almost as large or worse, bigger than the faculty, the teacher union's not working for you. Period.
Yeah, as a son of a school teacher who taught in public school, the only thing I really have to say about teachers, y'all just need to pay them more. Period.
Well, as a person who was denied the right to go to public school, and then once I was finally allowed, I was denied the right to an ordinary classroom and kicked out because I tried to fight it and reappealed, and 2 or 3 years later was finally allowed back into the system. I don't have a favorable review of public school. Sorry.
Look, so my mom started us out in private school, but my twin brother didn't want to go to private school anymore, so she then switched us over to public, and I was a little bit upset about it because I was enjoying Bible Baptist, I really was, but unfortunately, he wanted public school, so we went to Harge Elementary.
I went to Eli Whitney, which is now the administration building of the Chatham County Board of Education. So
What?
Yeah, I went to Eli Whitney Elementary.
Oh no, the latter part of what you said. It's now the building of what?
It's the administration building of the Chatham County Board of Education. Yep, it transformed it.
Yeah, a lot of cuss words just went through my head. So
well, not only do I hate the Board of Education, now that you're in my first school where I was denied the right to enter, I got 2 reasons to want to destroy that building. So, you know.
So one topic that I do want to hit on, because I think somebody asked about do I agree with all of President Trump executive orders? So one of the executive orders that I do disagree with, I don't know how you feel about it, Clint. I don't think President Trump should pardon anybody from January 6th. I don't agree with that. People who did things during the Black Lives Matter riot, I thought those people should face the consequences if they did do anything illegal. So when it comes to the January 6 people, I feel the same type of way. I don't think the president should have gotten into that business. I don't think people should be overcharged, because some people were overcharged. I don't believe in that. But if they did do something to break the law, I think they should be held accountable.
Well, here's where I disagree. The ones that were violent, I think they should have been forced to finish out their term if it wasn't ridiculous. If it was ridiculous, I think the term should have just been lowered to less years. And for those that were not violent and they weren't even present, they just happened to know somebody that was, those should be the only ones that received pardons. Those that were violent, but they've served enough time to fit the crime, release them, but not pardon them. Leave it on the record. The ones that, basically are in jail for 24 years and they caused the death of somebody, leave them. Don't give them anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of mixed up on all of it. Some leave them, don't give them anything. Some reduce their time, and some their time served, and others pardon. I wouldn't have done a blanket pardon for all of them.
I think the president should have just stayed out of it, but I guess he's trying to be loyal to those people who came out to him on January 6th. That's fine, but I think he should just stayed out of it. I mean, at the end of the day, the only thing Trump really did do was just go there and give a speech. And the fact that these people decide to go do what they did at the Capitol, again, like you said, everything is case by case, and I think it should be looked at and analyzed based off of their certain situation. I don't think the president should have just did a blanket pardon like that. I think he should be focused on other stuff.
Yeah, like I said, I disagree with the blanket pardon. I think few should be pardoned, few should have their sentence lessened, and the remainder left in the rot, who murdered people. Sorry. I also would like to know the agents that were working for the government that intermixed with the regular people in that world. And
a lot of people in the government continue to downplay that part. And the Stop the Steal rally, I just want to let everybody know, I believe that was either the second Stop the Steal rally or the third Stop the Steal rally. So they've been to DC before, and I was one of those people who would get the text message, hey, come to DC, stop the steal. Honestly, after we lost that last election, I was somebody who say President Biden is our president now. Kind of upset that Trump at that time didn't, concede and move on from it. But, I did move on from that election at that time. I'm happy that I didn't go because I didn't want to get caught up in that foolishness that was going on.
Yeah. And to get back to our previous topic, the military, I don't think it's necessarily anti-trans, movement in the military. I think they're worried about the military paying for, transitional surgery.
I don't think they should do that, though.
Yeah, they don't want the taxpayers to have to fit the bill. I think that's the real reason they're addressing that issue in the military. It's not so much to disqualify trans people. If you've had the surgery before you sign up and you can still meet the physical, criteria, I don't think they care. I think they're more worried about the money is the reason they're looking into it.
Medically clear, physically able to do the job, and competent, I think those things matter. They should be taken into account. The government should not be paying for plastic surgery or any type of surgery that you want.
Yeah, I think that's the real reason they're looking into it.
Your body. So I don't think the government should be wasting money on that. But
I'm
sorry, what was that?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily anti-trans. They just don't want to have to pay for transitional surgery. Is why they're addressing this entire issue in the military. I think it's more about money.
Yeah, it's I understand Trump said he was going to do a lot of things on day one. I think that this could have waited till maybe the end of the year to do or think about doing, but
Well, he does act like a used car salesman with ADHD, so you can't expect him to slow down.
I don't expect him to slow down. I think Trump is going to do stuff every single day where we're going to be like, oh, okay, this is what we're going to do.
We're going to be playing catch up every day.
Yeah, he's not stopping. He's going to move at super speed because Trump needs to get some W's under his belt right now. So he's going to do everything that he can to get some wins. Especially the midterms is going to start pretty soon, so they definitely have to get some accomplishments under their belt.
I think if he wants to aim towards something, he should try to, settle things with Hamas and Israel, or at least give them a hold off. The same thing with Ukraine and Russia. If he can pull that off for an extended amount of time, it might improve chances for his political party in the midterms. Otherwise, the Democrats are finally going to have their chance to make some real ground during the midterms.
It is possible that the Democrats can take back the House. I don't think they will be able to get the Senate, but I do think it is possible they can get the House because it's a very thin margin, to be honest with you. I think they're only just 2 seats from each other for who has really control over the House.
Sure.
So I think it's possible that the Democrats can take the control back. So it's really up to Republicans to do everything that they can right now to really get some accomplishments under their belt. The best thing they can do right now is to strengthen the economy. That's the best thing they can do. If they can do that, it is possible that they can win. At the immigration front, I think they're already doing a good job on that. Even if they're not doing a good job on paper, at least they're doing a very good job of putting images out there to make it look like they are so.
Well, this is where I disagree with Democrats. And a lot of them are upset at the latest bill where Trump declared male and female the only federal, and I believe the state recognized sexes. People keep saying gender, but gender is masculine and feminine. What he really meant is sexes. I'm just happy that we won't be encouraging families to transition their children that are under 18. Because unless you have a pre-existing condition, a handicap, like being a hermaphrodite, I don't think that transitioning for someone 18, I view it as child abuse. That's the only area where I agree with Republicans. I think transitioning your child before they reach 18 and they don't have, a genetic abnormality, I just think it's cruelty and it's a form of child abuse. So I don't want that happening anymore.
So, believe it or not, a lot of the American people are actually in agreement with Trump on that issue. It's sad that our president had to put an executive order out to outline something that we all should know, which is if you were born a male, that's man, boy, he, him. And if you are born a female, that's girl, woman, her, she. The fact that we are even having this conversation goes back to the point of why we need to get rid of the Department of Education.
Yep, I agree. Well, we become consumed with identity politics because we believe that the only way people can be treated with equal opportunity is with identity politics. No, you can treat people with equal opportunity through merit, personality, and charisma. And when you get to know someone, if they're trans, they'll tell you what they prefer to be referred to, and because you know them, you can refer them that way. But if you never met this person and they work in government, you shouldn't get a citation or get fired because you address them by the wrong pronoun or Mr. instead of Mrs. Because you just met them, you don't even know them.
Yeah, and so I do understand why a lot of Republicans are very cautious when it comes to certain trans people filing discrimination, frivolous lawsuits, because like you said, if you use the wrong pronoun or misgender someone, does it give that trans the right to now sue you? Or because you are a business owner and you don't want a trans to go into a women's public restroom, does it give the trans the right to sue the business owner? So I think we need to have these serious conversations, and really we need to stop playing into people's feelings. I think we should respect people. People can live how they want to, but just because you decide to live your life a certain way, it should not affect my common sense. And my common sense is, if you're born a male, you're a male. If you're born a female, you're a female, period. Well, that's not me. That God made you that way. If you're upset about that, you have to be mad at God.
Well, the bathroom or the restroom thing is no longer an issue because there should be universal restrooms now because the employment law, changed. In the workplace, they just have a unisex restroom. So
some places still don't have unisex.
Really?
Yeah, some places don't.
Okay.
I do when it comes to the restrooms. I think that is a solution to at least the restrooms, to have unisex, and it gives people the opportunity to choose. Like, if you want to go in that restroom, then hey, there is a possibility, and it also gives liability to the business owner as well.
Yeah, and employment law, we made it universal restrooms, and not to mention there's a lot of single mothers who have to take their children with them, and they might be a different sex, in order to protect them because they're little. They can't just let them go to a separate restroom where they're not safe. So, think about that too.
Yeah, and then Clint, another thing that you said, child abuse. So I did read a Pew Research poll, and there were some Americans, I think it was, I forgot the actual percentage, one moment, because there were some people that really, they disagree with that.
Now, if it's a hermaphrodite, then hey, my opinion is completely different, but that's a genetic disorder. And it's extremely rare.
So the ones that I did write down. So 58% of Americans favor proposals to require trans to compete on teams that match their sex determined at birth. 17% oppose. 46% of Americans favor making it illegal for healthcare professionals to transition youth. 31% oppose. 41% favor not teaching gender ideology in elementary schools. 38% oppose. 43 express discomfort with the pace of gender identity. 26% say it's not going fast enough. So when it comes to the trans issues, a lot of Americans, even some Democrats, actually agree with President Trump on that.
Yeah, I think elementary school, they're kids. They're not thinking about sexuality or gender assignment or none of that. They're just children. I think we should allow kids to be kids and not throw such adult situations, in their environment at such a young age. Just let them play, let them learn. The whole gender issue usually occurs when a child hits puberty, and with their parents, let them figure it out on their own. I mean, give kids a break. They're smart. They can figure out who they are. But if we keep interfering, they're not going to make that. They're not going to make that decision of their own free will. All we're doing is indoctrinating them, and we're taking away their freedom.
Yeah, and to my Democratic friends, I would tell all of your people in your party, this is a losing issue for your team. I honestly would move on to something else.
Let's see, another thing that, there's just so much happening.
Literally, the man was he just was sworn into office, and man.
What was it, 5 days ago or 6 days ago? It seems like 2 years. I mean,
it already seems like 2. Wait, warning.
I don't know what the warning is. Maybe we're out of time. Yeah.
We are out of time.
Yeah.
We didn't even bring our expert on, and I'm pretty sure he was cussing a storm in the background.
No, your expert is here trying to call both of y'all and let y'all know, but y'all just are talking. Y'all get some real opinionated advice here.
Oh, we did just like you, Mr. Hall, at 3 p.m.
Yeah, I see those people was lighting you up over there.
It's okay, I'm used to it.
Yeah, so y'all, great show. Y'all ready?
We are ready.
Okay, good night, everybody. Y'all can watch the rerun tomorrow and Wednesday.
I'll be safe out here.
All right.
Like that.